Hi everybody, this is Ellen. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make this dodecahedron. It's a Papercraft item. I know a while ago I showed kind of a Papercraft 101 type thing, and I showed some figures and characters that I had done, the Hello Kitty and the Yoshi and things like that. And I really want you guys to be able to make these yourselves with just like any design or pattern that you see. And I think that the way to kind of do that is to start you out a little bit simpler, because the designs like those they can be anywhere from 10 pieces to hundreds of pieces to put together. And if you don't kind of have a basic idea of how to do that, it gets a little difficult, and then you'll get frustrated, and then you'll quit. So I don't want that to happen. And so to kind of do a little bit steps, I'm going to do this one, which is a little bit complicated. It's not too bad. It's not as like basic as a square or a cube, but it's not quite as hard as some of the other ones. And we'll kind of just do a few of those, and we'll get to the other ones as well. So don't think I'm not going to show you, but I have to. I think this would be a better way to learn, so you can actually do them yourself, which is cool. So for this tutorial, the pattern for this polyhedra is on a website. It's just paper models of polyhedra. The gentleman who runs the site is alright with me doing tutorials on any of the designs there. So there will be a link underneath the video where you'll have to go there. I'll have one that's specific right to the link for this design. It's actually, I think, the third page you'll want to print, because there's like 5 different designs on that PDF. It's a PDF file, so you don't have to have any kind of special program or anything to view it, so that's awesome. So I'll have the direct link to this design, and then I'll also have the link to his website in general, so you can check it out and see some of the other polyhedra designs that he has. So there's a lot of really cool ones there. But you're going to need a few supplies. I made this one with cardstock. In particular, it was this one right here, which I got from Michael's store. In my last tutorial, I guess I wasn't super clear on what kind of paper I needed, because I had a lot of questions afterwards, but it is cardstock. It's not printer paper. I have seen people use printer paper, but that is definitely, it's very thin, and if you're trying to use or make designs like these, it may frustrate you. I've seen them done, but it's probably easier for a beginner to use the cardstock. So you want it to be a cardstock paper. They range in weights, and this is what you kind of have to look for. This is 65-pound weight, so it's just kind of middle of the road thickness for designs, and this works pretty well. It's pretty stiff. I know the white paper that I get in general, because it's cheaper, at Walmart is 110 pound. Now the thing that you have to remember is that sometimes the paper will not go through your printer if it's too thick, so you'll have to kind of gauge that as well. I haven't had really any problem with the 65-pound weight, so it wasn't super bad. As far as like price wise, I got this on sale at Michael's. They had like a 4 for $10 of 25 sheets, so I mean it was a little pricier to have the design on it, but it's kind of neat to just have it pre-made, designed, and then you can do what you want with it. Otherwise, you can just do the white, then you can decorate it however you want. And with Christmas coming, super great idea for ornaments to make some of these or some of the other designs, which I'll hopefully we'll get to before too long. And sorry I'm doing a lot of talking. I'm just trying to get everything covered, and I like to talk. You guys know that. Sorry. So you want paper. You want to go to the website. You want to print out the dodecahedron, which is the third page, I believe. And I'll make sure I write it in the description for sure, the name of it and what page it is, where you'll need to print this. And then what that looks like once you do is this. So it's a kind of looks like a weird star type design, but this is the dodecahedron. When I printed this, I made sure that I printed because this is another patterned paper, I made sure that I printed it with the pattern on the white side, just because it's easier to see, and so that I don't have any If I don't get, things lined up exactly or have some goof, then I don't have any of the black printer lines showing, or depending on what color you use, black obviously would not, your black ink would not show up on top of black in a pattern, so you always want to try to use something that you can see. But solid colors, yellows, reds, things like that, you'll have to be fine. But you'll probably want to run a test paper through your printer to make sure what side should be down and which side should be up, as far as making sure that you print it on the right side. I usually just open my printer drawer, put an X on the paper that's in there, just the regular printer paper, run a copy through of this first, and then as it comes out I see what side was printed on, so then I know that if I have my X, I put it on the top, ran it through the printer, and then my design actually printed on the opposite side. So I knew that if I wanted it in the, wanted my printer to print on the white side, I had to actually put it this way in my printer. So you'll have to check with your printer first, because you don't want to, because it's, like I said, you want this to be a cheap, fun craft to do, so you don't want to mess up by printing on the wrong side. So there's that. But you're going to want something to cut on, or if you plan to use scissors, this one you could probably do entirely with scissors, but we will want to do some indenting of our lines because it makes it easier to do the folding, and it's usually easier to do on a cutting board of some type, but you can get a cutting board from your kitchen or anything, just something that has a little bit of give to it so you're not digging into a desk or something, which would not make your parents happy or anyone happy. So you'll want your design, something to do some indenting with. This is just an embossing tool, but they have them, clay tools have them. If you're into cake making, they have similar tools for fondant stuff. Or you can use an empty ballpoint pen, or just anything that has just a little bit of a kind of point on it so that you can run around on your lines. So we do the folding. So basically all you're going to do is, when you have this printed out, start on one side and run across every line on the inside areas. Doesn't have to be super perfect, but just try and get as close to the line as possible. So you do that around the entire thing. And if you lose track or you're not sure, you can usually run your finger right over to the top of it to make sure that you've gotten over all those lines in that particular area. So you'll do that all the way around. And I actually have already done it on another one, so I'm not going to do the entire thing this time. So you do that all the way around on all your lines. And then once you've done that, I like to take an X-Acto knife and do some of the fine cutting so that it's not so such a pain when we go in with the scissors. So X-Acto knife, obviously be very careful so you don't cut yourself. Make sure you have your parents' permission if you need to have that. And what I'm going to do is, if I show you, this will hopefully all be on the inside so nobody will be able to see it. So if I draw on it, I lost my pen, so I have this big weird pencil, but this will work too. I just want to show you that these pieces right here are the tabs, and these are where we're going to be putting the glue on to connect our pieces together. So all of these need to be free, and some of them are obvious. You know, here's a tab, it's not, you can see it just fine. But some of them, when they butt up against each other, you're kind of like, well, where do I cut, and should I cut here or not? But you always just kind of want to look and see, have the entire tab free. So I take my X-Acto and go in and usually just kind of cut out the tabs that are close to other ones. I'll come in and do some corners that are tight so I don't have to try and shove my scissors in there. Because realistically, if you go and you cut into every little groove right here, then all you have to do with your scissors is go along the straight edge around the outside, so it makes it a little bit easier. These are pretty big tabs, so it's not super necessary to do this. You definitely want to try and stay on your lines. You just go around, cut as many as you think is necessary to make it easy for you to remove it. You can cut the entire thing out using your X-Acto knife if you wish. That's certainly what a lot of designs do, especially when you get into some of the more intricate designs. You are looking at having some really tiny tabs for connecting things, and is just better to cut them out entirely with an X-Acto knife. So I just go around, cut out as many as I want, and then as you get enough of them done, you'll find a pair of scissors. I just use the bigger ones with these bigger designs, but you can have smaller scissors to do the more intricate, detailed ones. And all you're going to do is cut out around the entire outside of your polyhedra. So you take your scissors, cut out the entire thing. And I will say that before I get too far here, to glue these together, you can use regular school glue. And how I do that with that is I take the leftover scraps from the designs that I cut out, and I kind of cut them into little rectangles or squares or whatever I want, and then I'll use those to put glue on, and then we use a toothpick or something to dip in there and rub on the tabs as we go. Now, so as you cut these, you can kind of keep that in mind. It's just kind of save you a little bit more, so you aren't sticking glue places or having to get more paper to start over and make little tabs or things. Otherwise, you can try and find one of these. This was what the glue was in there, but it's not anymore. It's something different. But it's this was, I think, maybe $4, so it's kind of pricey considering that you can get a bottle of glue for under $1 usually. But what I like about this is that I bought it a while ago, and it has a very fine end on one point for just fine gluing of the tabs. But on the other end, it has this larger rubber end that for bigger work, I guess. But what's great about it is that this end will remove and come out, so I can refill this pen with regular school glue, which is much cheaper, and keep using this. And if it works really well for just kind of gluing as you go. I always did the toothpick before until I found this one, and I think this one really helps. So if you can find something like this, that'd be awesome. Otherwise, little squirt bottles, or there's tons of different things that you could probably adapt to do something that makes it a little bit easier for you. But I know I did the toothpicks first, but so it works perfectly fine. So print it, score your lines with the embossing tool or something to get your bends in there, and then you'll want to cut it out. Use your X-Acto knife for the fine details. You want to get those tabs, all your tabs free. And then, once you cut it out completely, you will have something that looks like this. So it's a kind of weird shape. And what you're going to do, I already played with it some because I couldn't resist, is you want to take, yours should be completely flat. Sorry, I got ahead of myself, but what you want to do is take and bend all of your folds, all your tabs. So I actually fold them away from me, from the printer side. Fold them away, get them all creased. And then, how we're going to do this is that for this particular design, I can glue it with my little lines on the outside, or I can flip it and do it on the inside. It really is up to you, because I have white on both sides, and this would be something that I'm going to decorate with like paint or felt, or, well, probably, I think this one will be felt and sequins is what it will end up being, but you want to have everything folded the same way. If you have a design on one side of your paper or the other, you want to make sure that when you fold them, like I folded all mine down, my design would be on this side. So it kind of comes out in this weird shape. So now, the last thing is, you have to decide, I'm going to tell you, here it is again in the full form. As we connect these and we get further and further along for gluing it together, it gets much more complicated to try and get tabs underneath of each other and try and get them glued together. What I always look for on a pattern is a piece that has a tab only on one portion, and I want that to be one of my last pieces that I do, because when I fold this piece over, it means there's going to be a tab already under here, already under here, and already under here, and I only have to slide this one underneath something when I'm closing it. So I always kind of look for something like this, and I plan for that to be my very last piece I'm going to do. So that kind of helps me. It's definitely much easier than doing it different ways. So what I'll do is I'll find that on here, and that is this piece right here with the one tab. So I'm going to start over here. So I have, if you look at it, there's one that has like 3 pieces that come off of the center, and then the rest of them have 2. So I'm going to start in between here, between the 3 and the 2. Get my glue. And this glue dries super quick. I mean, you don't need a whole lot at all. Just squirt a little bit on, rub it over the entire tab, and then you'll just line them up. Hold them together. And I mean, already I have a pretty good bond, so I can move on to the next tabs. And if you have the school glue and the toothpick, it's the same thing. You just get a little bit of glue on it, rub that on the tab, a little more glue, rub that on the tab, and then we're going to bring this next one up. Just line up the ends for the corners. And then that one already has a pretty good bond as well. So I'm going to kind of turn it and go to the next 2 piece that's coming off, and we'll connect it to this portion that we just finished. So again, glue on our tab. Try to only work with one tab at a time. I know it's tempting to be like, oh, let's do both of them. It's easy for things to get misaligned if you get ahead of yourself, and you want it to try and be, especially with these or any project you do, you want it to try and be as exact as possible because it'll help line up the other tabs as well. So that one's good. And we'll go to the next one. Up. A little glue. Bring that one over. And I'm holding it on the top and the bottom, just squishing it together. And then once it dries a little bit, then you just keep moving on. So make sure it has a good hold first before you move on. You don't want a lot of glue because you don't need it, and if you put too much on, you're going to be holding it for a long time trying to get it to stay together. So again, glue that next tab up. If I can get my glue out. Line up those pieces. Make sure you hold them together. Now it's kind of a half cup type thing. So again, we're going to do the next one. So it looks like this. This is the one piece right here that we want to save till last. So here we have the next tab over. We're going to glue that one around kind of the top here. So put your glue on your tab. And the next one. And these kind of seem to fold right into each other, so it should be pretty easy to figure out where to go next with the tabs, which makes it nice. Like I said, I really want you guys to be able to try this Papercraft so you can do some of those awesome figures that I showed you, because it's very neat. It's something that isn't super expensive. It's kind of cathartic to sit and to create something with just paper, and some of the amazing things are crazy. I know I saw one that's like this giant robot. We're just going the next tab up. It's a giant robot that's like in somebody's garage. That is just huge, and you're like, oh my god, how much paper and how much time did that take to make that giant thing, and to design them as well. That's pretty amazing, because it's not like just, you know, slapping some things together. You really have to be precise in the design and getting it to line up, and so there's no gaps or holes, or it's definitely pretty awesome. So there we have our, I'll call it an ornament right now. There we have our piece now. So we have kind of the whole bottom portion completed. So now, here again, here's our tab that we want to save for last with just the one tab on it. So we're actually going to come back over here and bring this down on the side. So I'm just going to kind of rotate it towards me, put glue on my tab, close it up, hold it long enough to have a good bond. Then go on the next tab. Of course, you want to make sure you get enough glue on it too. Make sure this one's tight again. So again, we'll line it up. I would not use any kind of like, there's Eileen's craft glue around us. It's it's tacky. It's good glue for a lot of different things, but I would not use it for this because it takes way too long to dry. You'd be sitting there forever holding it, trying to get it to stay. And how do I know? Because I tried. So I was like, oh, this stuff's so sticky, and you know, school glue, you're like, it's just school glue, that's crazy. So keep going around. Get these last few tabs on this kind of branch off the center here that we're working on. This one right here. So we're almost done. And depending on what you want to do with it, the excess glue that might pop out or that you might put on, just kind of run your finger along the line, and it kind of seals that. So that is always an option. Make sure everything's tight. So I should have one little tab left. So what we'll do, so kind of, we're going to attach this entire tab here, and so we just have one left to go on the top. So I'm actually going to fold these down a little bit so they're kind of squared with the edge of the design. Put glue on both of these. And I'll fold this one on the other side down. I'm actually going to fold this last one back, because So I want it to be kind of out of my way so that I can attach, get my finger in there better, and attach these sides over here and make sure that I even them up. That's the biggest thing, is like running out of room to be able to get your hand in there to kind of squeeze things together, make sure your lines are even. Like that. Make sure you get a good seal on this side. And then we go to the other side, and that tab's kind of buried, but just kind of pull it apart a little bit. Get your glue under there. And this is where toothpicks are actually a little easier because they're smaller than my little glue doodad, but it's a little less messy. And you want to stick that together. Make sure you line it up well. Finger on the front and the back, squishing it together. Like that. So now what we have left is just this top portion with the 3 and then one little tab on the side. So if you want to use this as an ornament, right now would be a good time to take a piece of string, and then you would just loop it, tie it in a knot on the end, lay that in here, and then let it hang out in between a couple of the tabs. Unfortunately, because I'm more rainbow loomy right now than any other craft activity that I have. Even you could use a piece of wire like this this is what I use for beading, but just get it in that loop. Same thing with string, tie a knot in the bottom, or if you're going to use some wire, if you hold it together after you've looped it, bend one way and bend one the other way. So when you slide this in here, you might have to bend them down to the shape of the design, but so when you drop it in the bottom, so when you put this in here, it'll stay there after all the sides have been glued down. So then you would have something to hang it with. I would definitely recommend string with a giant knot on it though, over a piece of wire. A little easier. So to close this, we want to get glue on this tab on the side. Should also say that you probably don't even, you could, because of how we close this, actually leave it open. You could cut off this tab, cut off the tabs right here, and then just kind of have a cute little box too. So I got glue on this tab. I'm actually going to go in, and I'm kind of got my fingers squished in there. Go in and line that up and try and get that one glued on as well as I can. So we want that one to be nice and square. So now all we have left, this little portion with the 3 tabs underneath. So you kind of set it down, and this is where I actually would use a toothpick over my other little tooly doodad. Throw a little glue on here that hasn't dried. Very dry in here. Yikes. I'm just going to go around, smear my glue on all my tabs. Like so. Set it down straight. Kind of get over the top of it, which is hard because my camera's in the way. But then line up all of those corners as best as you can to get that last closure done. And just push it down. Your tabs, as long as they're not super bent, those should all be fine. And I can kind of feel, you can kind of feel the paper get a little bit wet with the glue, so you know you've got it connected. But that is all. Now this is basically ready to go. The glue dries super quick, and then you can start decorating. I'm obviously just kind of showing in this tutorial how to put it together. hopefully you followed me very well, and that I know I was going kind of fast, but hopefully you'll be able to follow this to make this. And like I said, as we go along, I'll make some more complicated things to show you. But I figure if I show you how to make some of these simpler designs, especially like some of the stars and polyhedral stars, those are very complicated at times, and I figure if I can show you those, you'll be able to look at those other figure ones, which I love. Then you'll be able to do those with no problem. It'll just be like, I give you the base, and then you can do the rest of it, and that's what I'm really looking forward to being able to do. So with this one, I know that it's not very pretty, kind of plain Jane type of doodad, but I'm going to decorate this one to the nines, I guess, and I will post it onto my Instagram so that it will be there. So you can check out my Instagram if you want to see a kind of decorated one. I think I'm going to go felt, but I'm not totally sure. But you can check out my Instagram, which is at Crafting Fantastic, and then you can share any of these that you make with me on there as well. And then, of course, if you want to show me my Facebook page, you can do that as well, which is feelinspiffy or Crafting Fantastic. They both should find me. And if you like what I'm doing, definitely give me a thumbs up so I know, so I can keep making things. And then also subscribing to my channel here would be awesome, because I'm super excited about all this crafting, and I think this is like the best thing in the world. But I want to thank you guys very much for watching. I hope that it was informative, and that we definitely can kind of grow from here and make some more awesome things together. So thanks again for watching.